Well, good afternoon again, everyone. Good afternoon. Um, hey, Robert, can you hear me in the green room there, my friend? Good, good. It sounds like you can hear me. If you can. So, welcome again to another episode or another, I guess, rendition of the Conversations with Dune and Friends. Today, we have a wonderful friend joining us. I think from the Edmonton area is where he's coming from today, and joining us from Edmonton, Alberta. And I'm in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Here, I am your host, Dune Wynn, and today we have Mr. Robert Walsh joining us, and if our friends who are watching out there, if you can just let us know that you can hear us loud and clear, that would be great. And so we'll get underway here for an hour and a bit. We're going to hear from our guest today, and we're going to hear from Mr. Robert Walsh. And so Robert Walsh is an award-winning singer, songwriter, producer, and guitarist, and musical director, composer, arranger, and speaker and educator. So he does all these things when it comes to music and the spoken word. He's all over it, whether it's recorded or live or otherwise. Having spent many years working as a producer and a session musician and sideman for many other artists, Robert is now reclaiming his seat at the table as an artist and in his own right. The plan is to release a single every month until he's caught up. Making up for lost time there, it sounds like, Robert. Robert grew up in Quebec, where he obtained his music degree from McGill and was part of a seminal Montreal bands, actually, Johnny Jetblack and the Xmen. He then spent over 10 years in the Toronto area, where he met his wife, Rhonda Trodd. And together they signed a recording deal with Renaissance Records of Nashville. The fates then drew them into Edmonton, and where Robert has become entrenched in the music scenes here. And he's in the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra regular guitarist, and he has been featured soloist on many occasions, and most notably when the ESO play the music of Frank Zappa, Queen, and with the Pointer Sisters. And he's worked with a wide variety of artists, many famous along the way, such as Stewart Copeland, the Canadian Tenors, Tom Cochrane, Renée Fleming, Petula Clark, Johnny Reid, Daniel Lavoie, Tommy Banks, Rickie Byars Beckwith, Lucky Merrill, Andrea Lyndsay, René Simard, Edmonton Opera Society, and Alberta Ballet, and Edmonton Jazz Orchestra, Edmonton Winds, and many others who should be. So Robert has released 4 albums as an artist, and co-written these musical, really the Forbidden Phoenix is published by Playwrights Press, and was nominated for Outstanding Design or Original Composition in Vancouver. Now, he has also co-written and produced a large catalog of music for other artists, including Métis singer and actor Andrea Lyndsay, other artists including so their work really together includes several television shows and CBC movie of the week, and the Ford Award-winning albums. Right. Robert also formed the duo Two Blue in 2014 with singer Karima, and together they won the Edmonton Blues Society Memphis Blue Challenge and represented Northern Alberta in Memphis in 2015. Now, Robert arranged their music and really performed with the River City Big Band in 2016, and he performed with his arrangements of the Beatles music with the RCBB in 2019. Recently received an Edmonton Music Award for co-writing the song Dear Marie by Postscript. And the album Renée Ray is nominated for the Best Francophone Album at the WCMAs in 2020 here. Now, he has also been commissioned to write songs for the National Arts Centre, the YMCA, and events such as the return of the Belle of Batoche. On the French scene, Robert is a member of celebrated Franco-Albertan roots group called Alouettes, who have represented Alberta in Ottawa and Washington and the Vancouver Olympics, and received the City of Edmonton's Arts and Culture Performance Award. He has also produced many albums for the Francophone artists and musical directed large events such as Polyphonic, Chant Ouest, and Les Rencontres, qui chantent across Western Alberta. Now, Robert is an educator and has taught songwriting and other courses at McGill University since 2008. He has published 2 books, Bob's Book of Music Theory and Sculpting Air, a whole person approach to songwriting, and has given workshops all over Canada in English as well as in French. So his online resources can be found in many different sites that we provided in the description of the show here. And so with that introduction, folks, help me in welcoming our wonderful guest today, Robert Walsh. Robert, welcome, my friend. How are you doing today?
Through, and you did. I did great on the French. I'm sorry to have to do that. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Wonderful. Well, I took French long ago, and I guess my memory is not as good as it used to be.
Not bad.
So tell us, beyond that sort of formal introduction, tell us maybe a story or two that kind of fill us in on what brought you here to this point. Anything at all that you want to kind of cover in terms of your history prior to getting into some sharing and some questions?
Yeah, well, where to start? I'll try and make this brief. Just to back up a bit, I guess, like you mentioned, I grew up in Montreal. I'm an Anglophone from Montreal, and so learning French was something that came to me later. So it's really fun to be working in French now. It's amazing how things tie together, you know. We had a band, two of the bands you mentioned, Johnny Jetblack, the Xmen. The Xmen was offered record deals and stuff, and of course we split up just when that was happening. And then it led me to Toronto, where I did, I was a musician, I never stopped playing music and did some really fun gigs. There's a story there about playing with the guy who said no to becoming a Beatle. He was offered a gig with the Beatles and he turned him down, but I'll tell you that story later. Anyway, so different things in Toronto. And at the time, that's where I met my wife, and she's a singer and an actor. And we put together a project called Walsh Trodd, and we got signed to a record deal in Nashville. And after that, we kind of went, we've had our fill of Toronto, and where can we go and be artists and, have a family and a minivan and kids and the whole thing. So Rhonda was from Alberta. She lived in Calgary and Edmonton. And at the time, she had a show going up here at the Roxy Theatre called Supreme Dream, which was a story of her time singing with Mary Wilson of the Supremes. She used to tour with Mary Wilson. And she went to an audition one day, and this playwright friend of hers asked her, "Hey, what have you been up to?" And she said, "Well, just getting back from a tour with Mary Wilson." He goes, "Of the Supremes?" She said, "Yeah." "Okay, I'm calling you, and we're going to write this show." So they did, and they wrote this show called Supreme Dream that had a pretty cool run in Canada and a few places in the States as well. One woman show about that. So that led me, it got put up here at the Roxy Theatre. I came out here, and Rhonda had sung in rock bands and stuff and knew a lot of the players on the scene and introduced me to some of them. And then we realized, wow, Edmonton would be a great place for us to go to be artists. It's funny because usually people go the other way to Toronto from
Mhm.
Edmonton and then usually come back.
Yeah.
But so we came out here with our eyes wide open, going, "What a great place!" Musically, it's a fantastic scene. It's a very open and welcoming place, and I've been able to do so many cool things that you really wouldn't get a chance to do necessarily if you were living in a big center like Toronto.
Mhm.
So it's been wonderful. That's how
Yeah.
I got here.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wonderful. For our musicians friends out there, folks, you've heard it here again from Mr. Robert Walsh, who says that Edmonton is actually a great fertile ground for musical endeavors. Here's somebody who came from the big city, probably the big city in Canada, and believing that Edmonton provides actually more interesting mix of opportunities than even the big city, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, I've come from two big cities. Montreal's a very different scene than Toronto.
Mhm.
And it's culturally, I think, fascinating. And I love going back there. And I do miss, of course, when you grow up in Montreal, you're kind of supposed to not love Toronto, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
part of the deal. So,
Mhm.
I do like to go back to Toronto. And I think it's changed a lot in the time that I've left. And it's kind of a
Mhm.
more fun place to be now. But for me, it didn't feel like home. And Alberta has really become home, and it's been wonderful. And like I say, I've been able to do so many fun and interesting projects in the art scene, theater shows and, all sorts of stuff that you just maybe wouldn't have a chance to do living in a larger center.
Yeah, you bet. Well, that's fantastic news to hear, and again, a reaffirmation of what I've been thinking, that Edmonton is quite a great place. And
Mm,
I know early on here we have one of our viewers out there chiming in. So as they do that, if you were on the public tab, you would actually see them coming in real time there,
right.
Robert, in the public tab versus the host chat tab. But I can display them here too, and because it's a longer message, it's sort of smaller font there, but. Can you read that, or I can
Yeah,
read it out to
sure.
you?
I got my glasses on.
Cool.
I agree with you, Tony.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. We are blessed to be one of the Canada's finest music city for sure. And so thank you, Tony, for chiming in. Tony is one of our fellow musicians here in the community
Mm,
and quite a contributor here as well. And so, Robert, in terms of I know we're going to be sharing all different kinds of music. I mean, as per the introduction, you have a very diverse background, right? Everything from really big bands and symphony orchestra, all the way down to I guess a duet when you actually play with, for example, our friend Andrea, who's in BC.
mhm.
We know Andrea both, of course, and so all the way from duo. Have you ever done a single where you're just the only guy sort of performing to a crowd?
Right. The
Or,
only
or
lonely guy on stage.
you're just not
Yeah.
shy of single, or
Yeah, I've done lots of that stuff. I don't it's not my preferred way to go. I like making music with other humans, and
yeah,
I usually, if I can at least get a bass player, like a stand-up bass player or something on a gig, then it's way more fun for me. I love
right?
the interaction.
Yeah,
But I'm not adverse to doing solo stuff. It's fun too. It just,
yeah,
you have
yeah.
to I find you have to settle into it a bit more. You have to kind of take a breath and go, we always think we have to fill all the space as musicians. Like if there's a pause in the action, it actually, to us, we feel like it's something's going, like we need to fill that space. But I forget that the listener is fine with it, and it's
Yeah.
sort of a question of relaxing into that.
I hear you. I hear
Yeah.
you. Yeah. So which is essentially making use of the asset that you have, which is just a more intimate kind of setting. And if
Mhm.
you fight that with trying to do a big band with an intimate kind of
Yeah.
setting, you're kind of swimming upstream, right?
Wholeheartedly, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a really interesting exercise though, because you can't hide anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and it forces you, I think, to really edit your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really great thing, even if you don't do it like live or anything. It's a great thing for any musician to try that, and you're going to learn a lot about yourself as a musician in doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Now we're going to just share a video just to kind of start off with our viewers out there. You sent me, I think, a few videos. Which one would you like to start off first, Robert? How does it
Oh,
feel right now? Which one feels kind of in the mood for? We're in the
uh,
mood for.
I can't even remember what I sent you now. Whatever you got, Dune. I don't know. We'll just go
Uh,
from there. Whatever's
all
closest.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to start with the sort of you and Andrea. So let's pour video. Maybe give us a quick introduction of that while I cue it up here.
Yeah, so Andrea Menard, we go back many years now. We've written so many things together, and this is actually a song that I wrote. Usually they're co-writes between the two of us. And we were just goofing around one day, recording some stuff with her camera, and this was a song called L'Espoir. In French means hope, to have hope. It's an English song, but the kind of the hook is L'Espoir. And so this is just the two of us knocking it off in her living room one day.
Ah, cool. So let me just see if I got the right one here. I believe I do. And let's bring it up and have our viewers enjoy this. And
rolling. Love is flowing like water, wearing away whatever blocks its path. I'm a drop in there somewhere, doing my best to rearrange the map, carving out new designs. The river is wide, the current runs deep, the water is high. I know the world is changing, I know I'm changing too. I feel a new direction, hope is breaking through. Let's walk, and love is breaking through. Let's walk, I know the world is. I want to change this world with you. Change this world with you. The veil is finally lifting, soon we will see each other as we are. Different shades in a spectrum, one big tapestry on a blue star. I feel the shifting wind, the energy spins, clearing away the past, so healing can begin. I know the world is changing, I know I'm changing too. I feel a new direction, hope is breaking through. Let's walk, and love is breaking through. Let's walk, I know the world is changing, I want to change this world. Je veux changer le monde, change this world with you. Come on. I know my world needs changing, je dois changer aussi. I knew the world needs changing, c'est dans le vent et je crie, c'est dans le vent et je suis. I know the world is changing, love is breaking through. I want to change this world with you. I want to change this world with you. Let's walk.
fantastic.
Hey, you know, I do own other shirts, eh?
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was fantastic.
Thank you.
Just wonderful. So you do several projects with Andrea along the way in the last few years.
Oh yeah, like we go back a long ways. The she and my wife. I met Andrea through my wife when when we first moved out to Edmonton. My wife got a gig. I don't know if you know who Connie Caldor is. She's kind of a well-known Canadian folk artist, and she's from Saskatchewan. And she wrote a play that was all about Saskatchewan. And my wife got the lead role in it. And so we actually spent the summer out in rural Saskatchewan when we first moved out west, which is kind of funny because we'd lived in Toronto I'd been there for 10 years. And the pace and the speed of that city was, I gotten so used to it. And so everything is like, and so we go to Saskatchewan for the summer, and it's like hitting the brakes, And I remember our thing was, it was a weird thing. It's like you never knew when a conversation was over because it was so slowed down. It's like, oh, we're not done. Okay, we were so used. Anyway, so we spent the summer there, and Andrea and my wife got to know each other. Andrea was the opposite lead. And so they got to be good friends. And then Andrea, I got to know Andrea, and she came to me. She applied for a grant, and it was like a week or two to go. And she's going, well, I bought a computer and I bought a car, but I don't have my play written. Can you get together with me and we'll knock out the songs? And so we did. And she came to our place, and in about a week we wrote my first musical that I wrote was with her. It's called Velvet Devil.
There you go.
Yeah, and became a CBC. That's the one that became a CBC movie. And since then we've done lots of, like, was it 4 albums? And we got another one we could do. It's written. We've done symphony shows together and TV shows and stuff. So she's just a fantastic singer and human being. She's the last couple of years she's been more involved, sort of in. How would you put it? Like she's Métis, and so sort of bringing her Aboriginal teachings into sort of her current philosophy, and she's a real searcher, and sharing sort of teachings to I don't know how to put it. It's so multifaceted, but women's issues, making the planet a better place is sort of what she's trying to do right now, and she's doing some very cool stuff, and I've been helping her with some of that. So yeah. So I was going to say that I think you're the first one I know of who had written all the music stuff for a play within a week, and that got onto CBC and whatever have you there. Yeah,
it's good when
sometimes you just got to get her done. Everything that we've done together actually involves compressed amounts of time because we've never lived in the same city. She used to live in Saskatoon, and now she's in Vancouver, and so it was always like these intense periods of writing, and which we both kind of thrive on. It's fun, but you have to get it done, and nothing like a deadline to make things happen, eh?
One of our viewers, bit of a regular viewer, Michelle chimed in again here. She says, "Hi there, I made it." she likes to watch the show most days. And hi, Michelle. Grateful you joined us again, Michelle. Hope you enjoy our conversation here with Robert Walsh here this hour and a bit. So tell us more. So that's one aspect of it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring up some photos, and I'm going to get you to maybe share some stories that are related to those photos that are sort of being presented here. So let me do that. In terms of, before I do that, could you tell us a story of a highlight of your music career? Can you think of a story that says, this is an awesome story that...
There's some stories I can't repeat here.
There's those as well, and that's okay.
That's for a beer, but no. Off the top of my head, one of the stories that comes to mind in terms of like a really inspiring moment for me was one of the people you mentioned credits was Renée Fleming. So if anybody follows classical music, you'll know that she's kind of the preeminent soprano of our times. She's just an amazing person, a gorgeous woman, and just a lovely, lovely light. And so she came and did a thing with the Edmonton Symphony, and I played a couple of pieces with her. And we had done one piece, and I saw her backstage. Like very often when you're playing with the orchestra, you leave if you're not playing the next number, right? So she left the stage, I left the stage, and I ran into her backstage, and she just was so gracious and thanking me for what I'd done, and it sounded lovely, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just like, wow, because she is fantastic. But so that was cool. Just being able to play with her at all was lovely. But to hear her come on in the second half and sing, I don't know if you've heard of Strauss's 4 Last Songs. It's the last thing that Richard Strauss wrote before he died. And he was an old man, and it's sublime. It's some of the most beautiful writing I've ever heard, and to hear her sing it was breathtaking. And so that was a thing I will never forget. So that's, I don't know if that's so much my career as hers, but it was a pretty cool moment.
There you go. Now, I must reiterate what you said. And you said, playing with an orchestra, after you finish playing, you generally sort of leave the stage and all that kind of stuff. And, things that you say that are just roll off the tongue. But right at that moment, I think to myself, here's a guy who is defining what is unusual, and I'll explain why.
I'd love to know.
Many of us have been through school bands, my friend. School bands. I play clarinet and whatnot. Never have any of us imagined or even dreamt of, or frankly even pursue playing in a big orchestra such as the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra and whatnot. And here you are. You're one of those rare people that actually can do that in that high level environment. Where most of us are just any memory we have of an orchestra is really high school bands.
Right.
So you've taken it a bit further, let's say.
Well, as my joke is always that, like, for a guitar player, I'm an amazing reader, like music reader, able to read the notes, So for a guitar player, I'm really a top of the bunch kind of thing. Yeah. But that's not saying much, because guitar players are notoriously terrible readers, right? So the bar's pretty low. So I'm always just blown away when I sit in with the orchestra, and it's just so fun to be there and hear them playing. And those guys get handed new music daily, right? It's like they refer to themselves as the note factory, because they never get that sense of, like, when you practice something as a musician and you're able to finally go play it, they never have the luxury of getting there. By the time they've learned something, it's time to move on to the next thing. So they're just reacting to what they get, and they do it in an amazing way. Like, I can't think of many professions that operate at the level of perfection that orchestras do. Like, the expectations are incredible. Yeah. And the pressure can be incredible. Like, it's amazing how just playing the simplest thing becomes a challenge when you're in that environment. Like, for me, one of the ones is playing with the opera at the Jube, and what was it? Don Giovanni? Oh, I'm terrible with this stuff. Anyway, after you play the overture with the orchestra, yay, great, and then you wait 15 minutes. And then the orchestra stops playing, and it's only you. And they're all watching you, and the whole like 15, however many people the Jubilee are listening to just you playing. And you're trying to accompany this guy on stage who's pretending to play the guitar. So you have to watch the conductor like a hawk, because he's trying to imitate the guy. Anyway, so it's kind of crazy, and it's amazing how much stress that throws on you. If you're just to play that part, in your living room or whatever, it wouldn't be nearly as challenging. But under the circumstances, it becomes that, really, really stressful. But the good thing is I get to go home early. Those guys are still chugging away 2 hours later, and I'm long gone.
There you go.
So,
it's like running a 100 meter race, at the Olympics. You run the 100 meters race. People say, I want to pay you by the hour. No, I don't want to be paid by the hour. I want to be paid based on the fact that I'm running a 100 meter race at the Olympics, right?
No, they're paying for the stuff that got you to be able to do that. 15 minutes or whatever. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you for sharing a bit of that. Now, I'm going to bring in some photos here, and we got quite a few photos. So some of the photos, you probably have a long story to share. Some of the photos you might just do a quick comment on, and we'll sort of fly through about 40 photos or so. And
oh my Lord! Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do that, my friend. We're gonna actually do that. So let me go ahead and do that here. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the photo, and I will make myself scarce, and
okay.
Not because I'm camera shy, but
no, I know.
Tell us about this photo, my friend.
Okay, so that's me, and the singer is Karima. Now, Karima, I know her also as Karima. She won this French polyphonic contest that I was musical directing in French, and I loved her singing and her stage presence and stuff. And so a friend of mine said, "Hey, what about this Memphis Challenge thing they do? Is the Blues Society puts on here?" And I thought, hey, I thought about entering it myself. It's the only time I've ever entered a competition, and I will never do it again. Not because of them or anything. I just don't love the idea of competition in music. But anyway, we had a great time, and he put us together. And she's a wonderful singer, and we were called Two Blue, and we were a duo, and we went down to Memphis to represent Alberta and had a great time down there. And we put out a CD, and we did a big band show with the River City Big Band, and that was kind of the culmination of our whole thing. And after that, we kind of sat down to reevaluate. And she's a really cool pop writer as well, soul, that kind of thing. And she, I could tell she just really wanted to push go in that direction more as a solo artist. And we're kind of at that make or break point where we're going, I can see this is getting traction. How far do you want to take this thing? How hard do you want to push it? And so is that make or break decision point. And so we decided not to keep going with it because she had other things she wanted to do, and which led me to do other things as well. So it was a really fun ride, and the album's up on Spotify if anybody wants to check it out. I really love it.
Well, this photo has so much soul to it. It could be taken any decade throughout history. It could be in the 90s, could be in the 50s, could be in the 60s, right? It could be any decade.
And I got to say, Karima has a timeless sounding voice. I just love her voice, and you should check out what she's doing. I heard her on CBC the other day from the National Music Center in Calgary, and it was great. So yeah, people, go check her out.
Different kind of. How many strings is on that thing?
I believe there's 4. Yeah. I have to open it up. It's been so long since I pulled it out. That's called a pipa. And that's Marty Chan with me, who is the playwright of Forbidden Phoenix. Now, Marty is a really well-known Edmonton author, playwright. He's written a series of children's books that have done really, really well. And he's just a really insightful, beautiful guy. We got together, and remember Marty, what had happened, he'd been commissioned to write the story of the Chinese bachelormen and the history of the Chinese experience in Canada, which is not a really positive story. And he'd done it as a straight play, and didn't love how it didn't land the way he wanted. So he tried a different version of it, and I was hired to write the score, and it involved writing one song. And that one song actually got a lot of attention. People came back looking to buy that song, and it really had an impact on the show. And after that, Marty said, hey, let's try this as a musical. And we're going to tell the story through allegory. And so we borrowed a whole lot of really interesting, Chinese cultural characters, well-known characters like the Monkey King and the Phoenix. And we used them, and we added some Western influence. So it's sort of East meets West cultural experience to tell in allegory the story of the Chinese bachelor man. And it was quite a successful, Canadian success story, I guess, in terms of theater. The show went up in a number of places in Toronto, Winnipeg, Richmond, Edmonton. So right there and had a cast of 11 or 12 people. And when it went up in Richmond, it had 11 musicians. Yeah. So usually in Canada, if you're trying to put out a new play, usually they're 1 and 2 handers, two actors. It's a hard thing to get plays put on. So we're really quite proud of that. But it took us 7 years to get it up on its feet. Wow. And at one point at the beginning, I had 10 songs written, and we had it. We did a little workshop for some directors, and right away we knew it's back to the drawing board, and we're going to start all over again, change the whole premise of the play. So our motto was always best idea wins, and that's what we did. And it took 7 years, but we finally got there.
There you go. For some reason, the 7 years in Tibet came to mind, but that was a different story.
Yeah.
I was gonna say and highlight again for our viewers. I'm a guitar player, and I know a lot of guitar friends, and it's a rare combination where you have a guitar player who also write scores for musical and writing scores for different production and whatnot. So you have quite a diverse.
I want to tell you a story about that, though, because I think as guitar players, often, or any of us, right, we think that we can't do things unless you have a certain kind of training or a certain background. Yeah. I've always said, screw that, frankly. So what happened, even with that show, I felt like I didn't know enough about Chinese instruments to write for them. So I hired somebody out of Vancouver who'd written some really cool stuff for like orchestra and pipa and erhu and all these different cool Chinese instruments. And it didn't come back at all the way I'd hoped. And I thought, I can do better than this. So I did. And it took a lot of research, but I really enjoyed the process. And I bought a whole bunch of samples from my studio and used those, as well as I bought like a sanchan and the pipa. And I just learned. And the most rewarding part for me was when we did it in Richmond, and the musicians were all Chinese, and they loved it. I was so afraid they were going to hate it. And they asked me actually about writing more stuff for them. So I had no expertise in that going in. I just did the work, rolled up my sleeves, and decided to embrace it. And that's the same with writing for big band. Before I wrote for big band, I'd never written for a big band. It's not like I took one arranging class, but I didn't have years of experience writing for big band, and you learn as you go, but that's part of the process, right? Yeah. So I would think, I would just encourage anybody who's considering any kind of creative adventure, don't think you have to take a course to do it. Just start, just do it.
Yeah. Momentum and necessity are wonderful forces, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And we have a wonderful photo here.
Oh, yeah. These are mes amis à l'Ouest. If we have any French people watching, like Frank. Ben oui. So Franco Alberta knows this band quite well. We were kind of, we had our heyday. We released our album back in 2008, and we represented Alberta all over the place. We were exhibits at the Smithsonian when we were down there, and went to the Olympics and stuff. But it was a really cool band, put together 4 singer-songwriters who were kind of thrown together and then decided to stay together. Unfortunately, we're not really doing much these days. The guy on the left, Joël Lavoie, he's a wonderful guitar player, singer-songwriter. He moved up to Falaise, which is where he's from, so up north around Peace River. And so that kind of, we tried filling his shoes, but there's a certain chemistry in the band, and it just didn't happen. So not to say the door is closed. We may get together and do something in the future, but each of the 4 of us is quite well known as solo artists as well within the French community, but it was a pretty fun project that the French community really embarked with and supported us a lot.
Yeah. A friend, Stephanie Harp, just chime in and say, Robert,
hey,
he is so incredible, she says, with a big
God
kind of love in the eyes there, my friend. You were
right on.
Yeah. Stephanie was on here a few weeks back, and heard her stories, and wonderful human being and fantastic performer and activist and change agent.
Yes, I know. And so I can go back and watch that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope your audience knows that, because some of these, I look at some of the people you've had on, and I want to go back. I saw a bit of Nathan's and stuff, and I want to go back and check some of these out. You're doing cool things, dude. This is great.
Oh, this is fun. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, folks. And then, Michelle chimed in again here. She says, we born in Montreal as well.
J'ai vu ça. Salut.
All right, here you go. Tell us about this one, folks.
Oh, just another shot of Alley West. Same bunch, another locale, I guess.
Yeah, cool. Very artistic kind of rendering there. And
okay, so this is playing for a funeral. We're doing the sort of Louisiana thing where you do a march, and this is on the front page of the journal. So I woke up to somebody said, "Hey, you're on the front page of the journal," and I felt like, "Oh my God, I've been caught playing banjo." Anyway, so that's it's John McPherson, the tuba player, who's also the first trombone player in the symphony. A tremendous musician and a really great guy, and Doug Innes on the clarinet, who is like, here you go again. He's a guy who does not read a note of music, and is one of the finest clarinet players you'll play with, especially in this traditional sort of style of music. He's just a wonderful guy. Yeah.
Certainly, there's not just one formula to success in whatever endeavor. You find your way and your unique way if you work at it enough, and if you have some So that's awesome.
Yeah. Ça c'est mon livre en français. So this is a book, music theory, according to Bob. That and in English just calls Bob's Book of Music Theory, available on Amazon. So this came about because I've done a lot of work over the years with Le Centre de Développement Musical, the CDM, French organization, obviously that works with young people, and I started an after-school program teaching music through songwriting. So bands get together, groups get together of all kinds, and write music together and perform it. And that has really taken off. And the CDM is offering that course all through Alberta now. So all the French schools tend to have a CDM program based on what I started. So I'm kind of proud of that. And they asked me to write a theory book. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it actually in English and then translate it. It'll just be easier, nice. And I'll have it in both languages. So that's sort of the course book for the CDM, but it's also available in English. Yeah, there you go.
Cool. You beat me to it. I was going to ask, is it also in English? So I'm glad to hear that it's in both.
And the other thing I just want to say quickly about that book is what kind of makes it different from others is my feeling that like I've played with some tremendous musicians, especially sort of in the blues world, who play their butts off, but don't necessarily know what's in a half diminished chord, right? or you know, what's a 7-sharp-11 chord or any of that stuff, or you know, don't know the theory. That they can hear it, they can play it, they just don't know how to. So they have some missing pieces, you know. And so it's sort of for those people to unashamedly go in there and fill in the blanks a bit, and also for anybody who's starting from scratch. So yeah, that's my goal with that book.
All right. Well, I know quite a few guitar players could benefit from that.
It's all the guitar players,
myself included.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's Roy Orbison, or not. So this was a weird gig. Oh, this is so interesting to me. This is at the Jubilee during the sound check. Mm-hmm. And so there was a band, I think we're probably about 16 people or something, horn section, backup singers, the whole thing. And this is a touring show. So what happens with a lot of these touring shows, you get called to play, like they have their show down and they'll have like a musical director and maybe one or two key like musicians, but all the performers travel and they pick up musicians in the different cities they go to. So you have to go to a city that has, you know, pro level players. And Edmonton has always been that. So they come here and they put together a band and we just play the music we're given. So what was kind of interesting here is a tribute to Roy Orbison. However, of course, he's not with us. And this is a hologram.
Oh, wow.
So what you're seeing there looks like a 2-dimensional hologram because we're behind the scrim looking out. But if you're sitting in the audience, what you're seeing is like a 3D thing that looks so authentic that there were people in the audience in tears. Like they were so moved by the show and at different points. So it's an actor that looks like him who they just filmed and they offered this hologram of him. And at certain points, he kind of turns around to the band and makes jokes and stuff. And it's just wild. So it just made me think that is this the future of the industry? Like if you're, I don't know, name a huge artist, Ed Sheeran, if you're sick of being on the road for 2 years after you release an album, right? Yeah. Why wouldn't you just, let's say, go to Carnegie Hall, play 5 nights in a row, broadcast each show around the world to you know, stadiums and arenas with holograms, and it'd be a live show, and like you're seeing it, everyone's seeing it in real time, but maybe you charge less, right? So instead of $300 to see Taylor Swift or something, maybe it's $100, and you're having the same experience worldwide. At the same time, it's just not everyone seeing the actual person. But if you think of going to a show at Rogers Place or something, that's what you're seeing. you know, you're not seeing anything much like you wouldn't know. So, and then if you're the artist, that means you can make all your money within a week and not go on the road for 2 years and all the stuff that comes along with that. So I wonder if this is where we're headed.
I want to tell you a story. So I'm in the, as you are, in our speaking community in the U.S. It's called the NSA, so National Speakers Association. So within the NSA in the States, one of my friends through CAPS and through NSA is Mike Rayburn. Have you heard and met Mike Rayburn?
I do know the name. Why do I know that name?
Yeah. He's a guy who, of course, performed many times at the Carnegie Hall, like you mentioned, Carnegie Hall. So he played several times there, and he calls himself a keynote artist. So he combines virtuosos kind of guitar playing and whatnot.
I know what you mean. Yes, I know.
And what I want to get to is that he actually did a few presentations where he actually play with himself. That sounds funny. On hologram. So he actually has a hologram version of him playing a Stratocaster or whatever, and then him in real life next to, on the same stage and whatnot, and that went off real well. And so here's a specific example of using hologram in that case, where he actually jammed with himself, accompany himself, and they trade leads and whatever have you. So check that out on the web if you want to find out more about that. It's
that's amazing.
Mike Rayburn, keynote artist.
Yeah. Very cool. Oh, that's neat.
There you go. So thank you for sharing that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the photos for a moment. I'm going to share another video for our viewers to kind of inject some music sound back into the mix here. So you get to tell us, my friend, which clip would you like to play next? I will kind of bring it up here. Give me a second. I'm going to just go back to here.
I honestly don't remember what the ones I sent you were.
I will tell you what they are, and we can kind of decide together here. I think in terms of videos wise, there is a video, Helter Skelter is one. I Feel Fine. There's the Robert Walsh and Friends at the Planetarium. Slow Burn.
Oh, let's do Slow Burn. That's the Two Blue one. It's a live recording. I don't think I have to say anything more. It's a song that I wrote with Karima, and we performed together with the River City Big Band.
There you go.
Shout out to the River City Big Band.
Hold on. I need to do something yet. So could you tell us something, an interesting something before...
Interesting something. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh no.
High expectation here.
What's an interesting something about this song? I don't know.
About anything.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this about the River City Big Band, since I'm plugging them. I've done two things with them. One was this music of my own music, like Two Blue, an evening with Two Blue, which was really fun, and like a bluesy event. So they're kind of like what's the word I'd use? Not all of them are full-time musicians, but a lot of them are. And it's a pretty high level, in a way, community band or low level pro band, depending on which way you want to look at it. So I'd rather say it's a high level community band, but they really are great. And there's some great
This
players.
reminds me of the saying I used to go in my training of corporate training. I say, you can be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond. It's a similar idea, isn't it?
Yeah. But there's some great people in it. And what was really nice too is Alan Gilliland he's the dean of he was the department head in music for a long time. Now he's a dean at McEwen, and he's also a world-renowned composer and arranger. And he helped me out, just sort of looking over my arrangements, and really taught me a lot during this process. And so that the band paid for these arrangements, which was a huge thing. I mean, what an amazing thing for these guys, a local outfit to help local writers arrange their stuff and get it out there. So I'm very grateful to them for that. And then subsequently, a few months ago, I did a show with them of, I don't know, I should probably at some point talk about my Robert Walsh and the Fabs project, but I've been associated with Beatles things for a long time. And so they asked me to do some Beatles arrangements and to front the band singing a bunch of Beatles tunes and stuff. So that was the other cool project that I've done with River City. And they've featured lots of other local and non-local artists too. And they're pretty happening big band in town here.
Yeah. So this clip is ready. I'm just going to roll it here. So give me a second to kind of mute the appropriate channels here.
And feel free to fade it out if you're feeling the urge.
Can you hear it? It'll come up here.
your speed. And your love and she will come. There's work that must be done. If you love, oh yeah, if you love someone. Now place some stones around the heart. Start a fire, this takes one spark. Into his love when it's wrong. Keep it burning all night long. Love. If you love someone, find them in the smoke. When the cold wind up turns to rise, it's not raining, blowing right. It's never rolling fire. Comes to desire. Takes a slow, slow. Rises slower. Locomotive turns the wheels. Move that engine, move that steel. Soon you're gonna build that speed. It's hard to stop before head of steam. You love someone. And you stay on the track. There can be no turning back. When the cold wind up turns to light, the storm rain blowing right. Rolling fire comes to desire. Like a slow, slow, slow bird. She will make you sweat so sweet if you can stand the when the cold turns to rise, blowing right. It's never rolling fire. Comes to desire. Like a slow, slow, slow bird. Like a slow bird. Thank you. We'll be right back. But first, the River City Big Band, ladies and gentlemen.
Fantastic, fantastic.
That was so much fun.
Yeah. So I wanted to show here. You said, Dune, go ahead and fade out when
Yeah, I
we
saw
set
that.
up. And then here's Michelle saying, Dune, no fading out.
Okay, thanks, Michelle.
She wants to hear the whole
Right
thing.
on.
So Michelle, there you go.
There you
She
go.
enjoyed
Cool.
it. And
Yeah.
just to double check, Robert, I know when you came in, I presume you select the 720 bit.
I did. Am I looking a little rough around the
No,
edges?
no. I just
Yeah.
thought of it, and I thought I'd just double check.
Yeah,
You're
right.
looking great. You're looking great and sounding awesome. So thank you for sharing that clip. I'm going to go back to maybe just. Do you have a low light? You mentioned a highlight. Do you have a low light at your musical career that you would be willing and able to share?
My Lord,
leaving the names of the innocent out of it and say, this was,
probably so many to choose from. It's hard to even know. You know what? I'm going to share one that I talked to my songwriting class about. We've talked about being a speaker, and I've do some speaking too. And I did a thing with Nathan as well, friend of yours as well, and Andrea one time called the Music Messengers, and it was 3 musicians just sharing different things about, from a musical point of view, about life, and so one of the things I shared was around like talking about criticism and the role of criticism in our lives as artists, but also as human beings, right? And how at one point I mentioned the Forbidden Phoenix, right? And now that was a lot of work, and when it went to Toronto, there was an article in the Toronto Star that was pretty glowing about the movement, the costumes, I think the writing, like the playwright aspect of it, but just beat me up like you wouldn't believe over the music. Thankfully, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was really bad. And I just wanted to crawl under a rock and die. Like, it was national exposure on this big project, and everybody else is being loved to death, and I'm just absolutely dumped on in national press. And that's hard to come back from. I'll tell you, I understand why people pack it in after stuff like that. After, it can be really hard on your psyche and really hard to just get back up there and believe in yourself. And, it's so anyway, I got over it. And a couple of years later, just a little background on that. What happened was when we did the show, I was told I'd have a pretty good budget to score the show. So we'd have live musicians. That the last minute, the Citadel partnered up with Lorraine Kimsa in Toronto, which was cool, except that they're a children's theater. And it changed the whole game. And they're a smaller company. And so the budget we had originally to do all these cool things like score the music and write and have like an 11-piece, 12-piece orchestra, all of a sudden got scaled back. And I had to write it, just do it all in my studio and make tracks that got played. So it's kind of a bit of a drag from my point of view. But the show did well in Edmonton, that's for sure. It went to Toronto. It did well there too. But I remember getting into a fight with the director over it because the tracks that they played in Toronto were so quiet compared to the vocals, right? And so, I know we want to understand the words and stuff, but there's a ton of nuance and stuff in the music. If you can't hear it, it's just not going to make any sense culture stylistically, right? Yeah. Anyway, so that's what happened. And so I wasn't really surprised that it got beaten up in the press because I wouldn't have liked that either. But just to, so it's really an interesting experience to go through. And then years later, it went up in Richmond with an 11-piece orchestra, so just outside of Vancouver, and it was nominated for Best Score. so you tell me which one's right. They're both right. They're both not. I don't know. So getting to a place of, you can't believe your own thoughts. Like, it's simply not my business to worry about that, whether people love it or not, or what. I just got to do me and let the chips fall. Like, people are entitled to their opinions and, whatever. You're not going to please everybody. And how many times have, probably you as well, like an artist that you didn't like 10 years ago, now all of a sudden you're kind of going, oh, okay, that is pretty cool. I just missed the boat on that, or, whatever.
Yeah. Well, there's a little old kind of thing that says they talked about in the 50s or something like that, or they said, maybe the 60s, that guitar music was on the way out.
Yeah.
They also didn't believe in the Beatles. That's
right. Yeah,
kind of just disappear.
Yeah. Was that thing John Lennon framed his one of the I think it was Decker or somebody who said no to them. I said, yeah, bands with guitars are on their way out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tell us about this photo. We're going to continue on the photo journey here. Take us
Sure.
down memory lane with stories and sort of anecdotal kind of insights along the way, my friend.
This is just a fun. I don't know if this is. This is probably Galala. So there's a couple of things I do regularly in the French scene, and this one is really fun. It's called Le Galala, and it's a really neat thing. We don't have anything I think quite like it in the English scene here. Maybe smaller communities, like I don't know, maybe the Vietnamese community has this kind of thing. But in the French scene, it's a provincial. No, this one's Edmonton. Sorry. Anyway, kids can just sign up, work with a vocal coach, work on one song, and present it with a live band. And it's a really fun thing. And over the years, it's expanded from just being kids, like literally all ages, to adults as well, who get to come out and sing with a band, and they love it, and it's great for the kids. It gives them a really cool experience. And we see them coming back year after year, getting better and better and better. And some of those kids are going on to do some really interesting things and end up at places like McGill or putting out records and stuff on their own. So it's a neat experience. And this is just the band. Pierre-Paul Bijot on the bass there, Gord Graber on the drums, and is that Dominique? I can't really tell on trumpet. Yeah. Anyway, so there we go. Forbidden Phoenix, there's Marty, and Ron Jenkins was the director, and that's the the promo for it outside of the Citadel back in 2008, I think.
Cool.
Yeah. This is with the Edmonton Symphony. So this was a show. There's different people travel, like put a show together and travel with it, and so the ESO gets the show. Same kind of thing, like this guy from New York who put this show together, and it was a peace and love kind of 60s show, and it required me to play a whole bunch of instruments. So I think there's acoustic, mandolin, banjo, electric, and a different electric. There's probably a classical guitar that you can't see there too, and a ukulele. So what's fun about that too, besides it was a blast, and they encouraged us to dress in the 60s style. That's why you got the peace medallion. But you got
socks and sandals on there.
Yeah, totally. We had a blast. But I just got to say too, the Edmonton Symphony is well known as an orchestra that plays pop music really well. Like they're a really good pops orchestra, and they've been known that way for years, as well as being a great, just legitimate orchestra, So this was, so the other thing is just as a musician, it's kind of fun to note is that when you play like in these sort of, union gig situations, you get 100% for your first instrument. And then if you double, so you play a second instrument, you get 50% again. And then every instrument after that, you get 25%. So it starts to add up the more instruments you add onto the program. So even if you play like 8 bars on your ukulele, it gets paid another 25%. So it's kind of nice.
So it's not a good situation to bring in one of those arranger keyboards.
No, keep those away. No. Yeah. And sometimes there's 2 guitars too, which is fun. Yeah. This was, do you remember, I don't know if you remember this, the Heritage Classic?
Yes.
I think it was the first outdoor hockey game.
Oh man!
And so we were the house band, and we played with Paulina Gretzky, who was Wayne Gretzky's daughter, and with Life is a High, Tom Cochrane.
Yeah.
And so we did an actual playing live at the what do you call it? The whatever the Rogers Center was back then.
Rexall.
Yeah, Rexall. And then the next night we did this thing on TV, and the drummer ended up in the hospital. It was minus whatever, close to 40. Wow. And, we were promised, you'll have outdoor heaters. Don't worry, it'll all be fine. Yeah. So it was a pretty interesting gig, though. I mean, it was a huge thing and a fun thing to be a part of, but holy smokes, was it cold.
Well, talk about Guitar Hero. That's the Guitar Hero there, my friend, playing guitar in the minus 40 Celsius.
Well, I was faking it.
Matter at 40.
I was faking it though, but I really wanted to put some gloves on, but I would definitely give away the fact I was faking it. But I brought my cheapest instrument to the gig for sure. Yeah. I
noted that you did not bring a Gibson.
No, that's
the body would just die in that.
Yeah, no, it's a cheap Stratocaster. Yeah. Oh, this was fun. That's John Taylor on the bass and Ike Willis on the other guitar. Now, Ike used to front Frank Zappa's band for years.
Oh,
And he
cool.
was a singer and a cool guitar player. And Ed Mann also joined us. He was a Frank Zappa alumnus who played all that crazy, like marimbas and stuff, mallets that is just unplayable. Like literally, it was so interesting talking to those guys over beers because they were saying like Frank Zappa knew this music could not be played. So everyone's just doing their best, right? But it's flying by, and it was one of the hardest gigs I've ever done. But really, what a pleasure! It was so much fun. Yeah, so that was cool.
Yeah, cool.
There
There you are with our good friend Nathan.
Yeah, so we're doing this is when Andrea we released the album Lift in Vancouver. And Lift, Andrea always has these great ideas for projects, and she has she's very conceptual in her thinking. And she had just been tired of listening to radio that didn't fulfill her, just people whining or talking about I need you or you done me wrong or whatever. And she really wanted to find a way to put out some music that was uplifting without being cheesy. And we have some cheesy moments on there, but they're on purpose cheesy moments. But so we wrote this album called Lift, and it's been presented. I don't know. Have you known about the Posy Awards, the Posy Music situation in the States?
No,
there's a sort of positive music movement towards positive music that
cool.
Instead of writing, something that will help move our vibration higher, our spirits higher, that kind of thing. And so we're not, there's two kinds of music in that stream that one is sort of this mantra style of music where you kind of take a thought and you just present that over and over. And I know Nathan does some of that. And my preference is for music that, conveys an idea through story or message or, that gets you there, that takes you to an understanding of what I'm trying to say instead of just telling you, So that's what the album is like. We're trying to, bring you along in a sort of a more positive journey without making you sort of, puke over the whole thing. So that's a cool album called Lift. And this was our, when we rolled it out in Vancouver.
Cool. I hear you.
Telemiracle. And there's Andrea again. Bev Mahood, Victoria Banks, and Brad Johnner. Those guys are all staples of this show. The back three have been doing it for years and host the show. It's a big event. In anybody who's from Saskatchewan will totally resonate with this because every year it comes to them and it's a big fundraiser. And I did it for quite a number of years with Andrea. And this is just me singing one of my songs with those guys helping me out.
Cool. This is your PlayStation.
Yeah. This is the bowels of the. I know a lot of musicians are always curious to see sort of setups and stuff. And this is, I think, for a show called Newsies, a Disney show that came through town, and I was hired to play on it. And what's interesting about this, you'll find this interesting, Dune, is they tell you have to play a Strat. And they tell you they're going to provide the amp, so you don't bring your amp. They want to make sure it always sounds as close to, everything sounds the same. So they send an amp and they send a pedal board, and they tell you in the score, you're reading along and you'll see 6 or something, and you hit patch number 6, and that'll come up. So they try and keep it as uniform as possible. It also makes our job a little easier. You don't have to guess.
Yeah. So I noticed that's a GT10, the 100, Boss GT 100 there.
There you go. Do you have one of those?
I have a couple, but I haven't been using that. I've been using my Helix and XFX lately more.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, cool. So this is Christmas time somewhere.
Oh, yeah. This is a special that Andrea was invited to perform on. I was there mostly with her, but then I started hanging out. What often happens is you start hanging out with the musicians around you, and that's Johnny Reid. And he's a big star these days, and he should be. He's a cool guy and a great singer. And so they just invited me to play along with them, and so I did. And so this is me playing with Johnny Reid.
Johnny Reid. That's a different Johnny Reid than the one back in the 60s, I presume.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is in Banff at the Banff Springs.
Yeah, cool. Oh, there's a big band there.
Yeah, this is with the Okanagan Symphony. And that's Gary Cable on piano, who did all the arrangements for this show, and it's kind of like the best cover band I've played in. Like these are all like the drummer is Bryan Adams, drummer, and the bass player is sort of the voice of Vancouver. Like he sung on a million hit songs and does radio and stuff. And so everybody's sort of like the band used to be called Gary Cable and the Nearly Famous because everyone is like played with huge people. And so it's and then Gary, who's fronting the band, he's a great singer. And it's kind of, I think, it's the music he grew up listening to. It's like Earth, Wind and Fire in Chicago and all that fun sort of 70s stuff, 60s, 70s stuff. And he orchestrated it, and we performed it last summer with the Okanagan Symphony, and had a great time doing it. And so we're doing sort of, with COVID, we had a bunch of gigs lined up, but we're now doing stuff. We all have our own little studios and stuff, so we're sending him files, and he's going to put it all together and put together a virtual concert for October.
Cool. Hey, let's share another video with our viewers. So you get to pick what video we're going to share. So I'm going to take this out here and tell us, what are you in the, hold on. Let me just, there you are. Okay.
There I am.
Video-wise, you have Helter Skelter, you have I Feel Fine, you have Robert Walsh and Friends at the Planetarium.
Right.
And you have a couple of audio tracks that we could go there too, if you prefer.
I don't know, whatever you like. I don't know, whatever our viewers are into. I don't know. I do want to make sure I've talked about the audio tracks.
Yeah.
So let me just segue into that for a second here. So like you mentioned in the intro,
bring up that audio track.
Sure.
Which one? The Embrace the.
The Embrace the Uncertainty is the single that's coming out. You're getting a sneak peek of it today. It's coming out on the 30th. And it's the second in my commitment to launch a single every month. Yeah. So I've been like, if I had to take away everything I do and strip it all down, if you told me I could only do one thing, it'd be the writing that I'd want to do. So I've always considered myself a songwriter before all other things, and I've been teaching songwriting at MacEwan for, I think it's my 12th year coming up.
Yeah, of course. Anybody who doesn't know this should know this. MacEwan, anytime I hear MacEwan sort of music program of any sort, I have respect for people who graduate from there, because they always seem to have a not only really good kind of grasp of music and all of that, but also just awesome people. I don't know what it is, but I've never met a MacEwan graduate from the music program that I didn't just love.
That's cool. Yeah, that's so nice to know.
And here you are, the professor or the instructor of that kind of thing, all of that stuff there. Yeah. So tell us more.
So, So with the COVID thing, a couple of things are coming together for me. And one is that, I've been working behind the scenes for a long time, as well as an artist myself, but I get fewer and fewer opportunities to just do my own thing, and because I'm trying to do things for other people. And of course you always put yourself last, right? So this time has given me a chance to sort of reflect more and realize, wow, I'm really frustrated about not having my own music out there like I used to. I've released probably 4-5 albums, depends how you count, but I've got tons of material sitting in my computer and I'm writing all the time. So my goal is to start putting it out there. And the other thing that happened to push me is that I was offered to teach a course on the business of music. I've taught the business of music before at MacEwan, but this is sort of a new approach kind of. And I figured I really got to get hip to the social media tools. Now I've been resisting them because I don't really embrace them, but I'm trying to now. I'm trying to have some fun with it and learn about it so I can at least be knowledgeable when we talk about it with my students. So that's part of the process too. So I'm learning about, how to strategize around your social media stuff. And there's so many ways to go. It's a huge learning curve for me. And also because I've been in resistance to it, it's it's a lot, but I'm embracing it. So I put out a single last month, and this next one is coming out on the 30th, and it's a song called "Embrace the Uncertainty" that I wrote with a MacEwan grad named Sean Sonego, who's a great singer, songwriter, guitar player, performer, and I co-wrote his album with him. And this was one of the songs on his album. And I always thought I'd like to do my own version of this song. I love it. So I have, and it's really, I think, kind of interesting for this moment that we're all going through. It's just, offering you that, or suggesting that we just embrace all this uncertainty in our lives right now and go with it, because really we don't have any option anyway, and that's really all there is anyway. So let's just embrace it. And it's told very often, I think it's easier to get your message across through story. So it's told through the eyes of this young violin player who's going up for an audition, and it's not going great. And her love interest is saying, hey, take a break, just embrace the uncertainty and go with the flow, kind of thing. And so it's told sort of through that story.
All right. We'll press play here.
Okay.
Can you hear it? Hold on. It would be great if I could do that. And then how about, can you hear it now? Yeah?
You hide amongst the violins. Music's what you're buried in. An avalanche of little black dots and a wall to dig you out. You're under pressure all the time. Fear is messing with your mind. When the walls start closing in, it's time to shut the case. Even Paganini made mistakes. Life's a chance you take. Take a chance with me. Life's a choice you make. Face the absurdity. Don't take it personally. Embrace the uncertainty. Perfect is beside the point. It's guaranteed to disappoint. It's a great big messy world out there, and I want to get messy with you. The future could go any which way. You can practice, but you might not play. The only thing I know for sure is nothing ever stays the same. So take a breath and just be glad you came. Life's a chance you take. Take a chance on me. Life's a choice you make. It comes with no guarantee. Don't take it so seriously. Embrace the uncertainty. You feel so bad. Play the notes that fill your ears. Prepare yourself beyond your fears. Whatever will be, will be. 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 Embrace the uncertainty.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, you know, while the photos are flashing by, we'll get back to the photos and have you share some more
Sure.
detailed stories about some of the latter ones there. But tell us more about that song. That's a very there's a lot of different dynamics and speed and pace and different components there. It's not a straight ahead kind of a song. The same thing throughout. Tell us a bit more about your thoughts on that.
On the musical aspect of it, you mean?
Yeah, just
Well, I think it's well, I teach in songwriting. One of your main jobs is to not lose your listeners' interest.
right.
So,
Variety
so
is the spice of life is the thinking there.
yeah. So, I guess one of the things for me, and as a musician, I love color. Like I love playing with color in music, and so I had that song ready to go, but then my wife actually said to me, you know, well, she was really into the story of the violin player, and wanted that to come out more in the music. And I thought, what a great idea. So I called a friend of mine, Daniel Gervais, who's a world-renowned like fiddle player who lives a couple of blocks over from me here, and had him come over and just play on it. And I wanted some of that in the middle where it all breaks down and it's just the voice and the violin.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted, like picking up on my wife's idea, like the intimacy of between the two talking to each other kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I combined sort of, you know, string sounds I had in my computer, and brass sounds with the actual violin, which I think gives it that personal touch that brings out the theme of the story.
I love it. Now I'm going to go. You don't have a business meeting that you have to be at on a Friday afternoon during COVID.
It's COVID time.
We're on COVID time. Yeah. Let me ask you to introduce the next song. I'm going to cue it in. We're going to hear that audio clip there. Do you know the one I'm referring to?
Not sure. Which one is it?
It's going to be one that
I hope it's enough. Is that
it? I think so. Yes. The other one.
Okay.
Tell us about that.
So this is so the one we just listened to is the one that's coming out. And please, everybody, I'm going to make a pitch for what I need. I'm learning in this social media journey I'm on is for everybody to, you know, follow you and like you and subscribe and stuff. So if you're interested in doing that, that'd be great. So this song you're about to play is the first single I released, and what a learning experience that was. You know, just things like picking a distributor or figuring things out, like, you know, how to reduce the length of your URL so it fits in descriptions and stuff. But it's so much detail. Anyway, so this was my first release, and I wrote it for Father's Day. I had another song originally that called "I Pick Up After You," which is about if you have kids, you'll resonate with it. But I thought whenever I've performed that song, it really hits with people. So I thought I don't want to offer that out the gate because I'm still learning here, and I probably don't have enough viewers yet. I'm going to save that. So I'm going to just write something else. And so it's a song in the same vein, in the sense that it's from a parent's point of view. I'm just hoping that my kids are like 18, 21, and 36. So I'm hoping I did my job. I hope they're turning out okay. And that's sort of, it's always in the back of your mind as a parent. And so that's what the song's really about. And it's very stripped down recording. It's just like one guitar, one voice. I played bass, and I had my good buddy Scott Bruyere from Toronto play drums on it. So I sent him the files, and he just did his magic and sent it back. And that's what you're going to hear.
Right. Well, let me know if you can hear it by a signal there. I'm going to mute you so we don't have feedback echo there.
You and I, we spent a lot of time in the woods, and I hope the peace I find there will give its gift to you. Simple things always made you feel good. You're still too young to know yourself or really know me too. But what I had to offer isn't something you can buy. What I hope you got is a love you can rely on. I hope it's enough. I hope it's enough to see you through. I hope it's enough. I hope it's enough to set you up right. In the end, I hope I did enough to help you on your way. For me, it's enough to know you're okay. Other kids, they got a whole lot more than you. Well, if you didn't get what you wanted, I hope you got what you need. Tried my best, could only do what I could do to build you a foundation with the tools passed down to me. Oh, like a house that's full of laughter, with music in the air, and a sense of possibility, and knowing someone cares. Hope it's enough. I hope it's enough to see you through. I hope it's enough. I hope it's enough to set you up right. In the end, I hope I did enough to help you on your way. For me, it's enough to know you're okay. And someday when I'm gone from here, and it'll be your time, think of my love and pass it on down the line. Reading stories, riding bikes, concerts, plays and games, doctors, teachers, birthday parties, playing daddy chase. I hope it's enough. I hope it's enough now, child. In the end, I hope I did enough to help you on your way. In the end, I know you'll be okay. Yes, I know I'm gonna be okay. For me, it's enough to know you're okay.
Fantastic. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So when did you record that particular piece?
About 2 months ago. Yeah.
Oh, cool, cool. Very cool, very cool. Now, I'd like to maybe get back to the photos and have you perhaps share some more maybe stories around those photos.
Okay.
Now, because of that, I'm going to kind of go back to where we left off, which is
Well, we start right there with that one that you have up. I just want to say quickly something about that. That's the drummer you just heard who played on that track from Toronto. The guy on the far right, looking at the screen, that's Scott Brudier there. And the chick in the middle, why, that's my lovely wife, Rhonda. And standing at the back, like most bass players, is bass player Bob. That's all you need to know. Bass player Bob, and that's moi. And that was a band called, well, that was Walsh Trodd. And
you guys look like you could be brothers
could be, yeah.
in that photo. Look at the eyes and the
Yeah. So yeah.
So let me put ourselves back to the photo that we left off, my friend, and I'm just going to pull it up here. While I do that, tell us another story, quick.
Oh my Lord! Tell you another story, quick. Boy,
anything at all that comes.
Anything at all. Let me see. What have I got? Boy,
the outfit, if you like.
You should have come prepared with a few fabulous interjections. stories, boy. There's so many to tell, and yet none come to mind.
Actually, here's what
I'm going to tell you a guitar story. Actually, now that I'm thinking, one time the symphony did a thing featuring the music of Queen, and that's become a really popular thing for symphonies to do. But this goes back about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years or something, and we did, of course, Bohemian Rhapsody and all the hits, right? And we're doing Bohemian Rhapsody, and of course, there's that famous guitar solo, right? That just takes over and stuff. And we get to that point in the music, and all it says is, there's not even bars written. It's like this big open space, guitar solo. And like, can you imagine if you're in the audience and you know every note of that guitar solo, and it comes along and you just, what? The guy's just improvising some jazzy stuff or something, right? So I went home and transcribed that solo, and I wrote it out note for note, and lifted it off the record, and so that I didn't get massacred when I went in to play it at night. And so there's this tradition in symphonies where if you play something really well and the orchestra loves it, they kind of shuffle their feet.
Okay.
It's a very subtle thing. And so, I got a fair bit of feet shuffling on that show, which was kind of nice. But I think they also were aware that the work I'd put in to make, I made the conductor look good in a way, because what would have happened if the guitar player had just played any old thing, right? Yeah. So you got to play what everyone knows. And so, if I understand correctly, like the other thing is, you're supposed to, if you have a big solo, it's kind of courtesy to give the soloist a bow. Right, have them stand up and acknowledge them, and that's a big solo and stuff. And he never gave me a bow, and I don't think that sat very well with the members of the orchestra. And I think they made their feelings known. That's all I'll say about that. But it was kind of an interesting thing. You get to the famous, everyone's sitting on the edge of their seats. Here it comes, and
Yeah. He or she went with the plan rather than adjusting to reality.
And
there was no bowing, planned,
no,
or written down on sheet music, and
that stuff.
Tell us about this other photo. We finished. This is where we ended up. So here we go. Let's continue.
That's the Pointer Sisters. Loudest gig I've ever played.
The Pointer Sisters right here, folks.
Yeah.
This is not a tribute, Pointer Sisters.
No, they rocked the Windspear. It's such a fun gig. I'll tell you a quick story about that too.
I don't want to take it anymore. No.
Yeah, Neutron Dance and Fire and all that stuff. Anyway, so when we were setting up, for that gig, I was really featured. I was in front of the orchestra, right up front with them, like right next to them. And so I got a ton of solos and stuff. And but what happened was I was setting up with the other guys in the rhythm section. The band leader was the bass player. And so the drummer in the middle, bass player over one side, I'm on the other side, and that's Tom King, who's the piano player. He's a local guy. He's a fantastic piano player. He was on the gig as well. And so Tom and I were out front with the band, like with the Pointer Sisters band and with the Pointer Sisters. And but when we're setting up, the drummer starts laying down this really funky beat, and the bass player's diving in, and it's really feeling great. So I just join in and start jamming along, And after about 10 minutes, they shut it down, and the drummer looks over to me and he goes, "Okay, you're in." I go, "What do you mean I'm in?" And they invited me to hang out with them the whole time they were here and stuff. I had a great time with them, and they said, "Yeah, we do this every time we go to a city, and we kind of audition the rhythm section. And if the guys aren't really, R&B kind of players or whatever, then we tell the sound guy not to put them in the mix." So that was like, escape that one. But they were lovely, and they sent me like an autograph thing later that they really enjoyed what I did and stuff. So that was really a fun gig.
Yeah. There you go. Be respectful of the sound guy and what the power they have at their fingertips.
That's right. Don't mess with the sound
guy. Also, obviously. Men and women who are sound engineers.
Of course, yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so this was, I don't know, a lot of people know of Michael Beckwith. He's a really, really well, I think he heads the Agape Church in California. It's sort of a new thought person. I was here this is in Toronto. I was with Andrea, and we were playing music off of the Lift album and performing at this convention, like sort of a new thought convention. So Michael Beckwith was a keynote speaker, and that's his wife, Rickie Byars Beckwith, who is as well known as he is in her world. So sort of a new thought singer-songwriter. And she writes a lot of the music that gets performed at that church, and she's put out many albums, and she's really, really cool and sort of a leading figure in that world. And I've done my set with Andrea, and I couldn't believe it. Like, she got on stage and said, "Where's that guitar player?" And she called me up from the audience to hang out with her, and she gave me a scribbled out chord chart, and she said, "Yeah, come on, let's go." And cool. I have it on my wall here, the scribbled out chord chart with her signing it for me.
Let me put this back here. So point it out. Was it right behind you there?
This little one behind me?
Yeah.
That's her. You want me to try and get it?
No, that's okay.
Anyway, it's got the chords on it, and it's got her signature and stuff. And so
well, you know what?
Yeah.
Actually, no, you had headphones on, so that'll be
I'll have to abandon ship here. But anyway, so that was a cool moment, and I just hung out and played this beautiful song of hers with her, and Andrea filmed it, I think, and there's a film somewhere of him doing that. Yeah,
a reminder for all of us that regardless of how awesome people are in their fields, they're still human being with connections with people that they care about, and if you are in that circle that they count as being connected with, then you get opportunities that are not available to the typical scenario. But again, it's all about the human connection, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And she is the definition of the human connection. She's such a warm and connected person. So that was really a cool moment for me.
Yeah. There you are in, is that a Gibson? What kind of semi-hollow?
That's a Gretsch I had. I don't have it anymore. I traded it for something else. I can't remember. But that was a Gretsch guitar I had.
I would have known it's a Gretsch if I knew that, if I saw this little kind of button here, right? That is a Gretsch. That is definitely no Gibson right there.
That's
just by looking at that alone. All right. My bad.
Hey.
There you go. Oh, there was accordion with some interesting. What is that circular thing there for?
Oh, I think that's just like a trademark,
cool.
Whatever brand it is. But that's the venerable Jason Cody, and he's a really well-known musician on the Edmonton scene in his own right. But as well, he was a member of Alley West. This is Alley West live somewhere, and he also was he's a member of Captain Tractor, which is a well-known Canadian Edmonton band. And we've done a lot of things together over the years. This is us just rocking out somewhere.
Cool.
Yeah.
This
Gerald
is like
Dubik
gallery material.
We're at one of the galleries downtown. So this is Gerald Dubik playing saxophone. If you don't know about him, he's a world-class sax player here in Edmonton. He's also a teacher, teaches music at Scona High School. And really smart and interesting guy, and we had a fun time just playing some jazz together.
Yeah, Fender Blues Junior.
That's right. Yeah,
it's a little bit surprising to see you with a Fender Blues Junior. I thought you had some sort of a jazzy guitar amp there.
Well, I think it crosses over well. It does. Yeah, I've been using it on jazz gigs for a long time.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know, telling something to somebody somewhere.
There you go. You were inspiring people to be kinder and better to everything and everyone.
That must be it. Yeah, that must be it. This is just a recent shot that we took in Kelowna at my brother-in-law's place. And, one of the things on social media is you're supposed to get new photos every 2 weeks, they tell you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. So anyway, so this was a recent one, and I'm going back there next week, and I'm going to bug him to take some more.
That must be the selfie economy, the selfie currency. Every 2 week. Wow, that's that.
Well, you're supposed to, if you're going to play this game, you're supposed to update your banners, and you're supposed to update it. Like, I can't believe it. Like, I get going on this, but I wasn't raised to, speak about myself that much. Of course, I've just spent almost 2 hours doing that. But,
so you're well on your way with your social media initiative.
Yeah, I seem to be okay in the end with it. But I can't. I don't know why people post every little thing they do. But apparently, it's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, I guess what I struggle with is, doing this. This seems to be the new, not so new to me, way of the music industry. I guess I've been in resistance to it. I haven't accepted it because I just can't see this being the model in 5 or 10 years. It's too time consuming for artists to continually put out content that isn't their actual art. And play this social media game. Like, how many people are artists who are not extroverts? Like, I'm kind of an introvert, but I've learned how to become an extrovert when you have to be. But so I think it's like I in the last month or so, since it's been a steep learning curve for me. But regardless, I haven't touched my guitar. Like, I would hate to go do a gig right now. I'd embarrass myself, I think. And I haven't written, aside from that last song, I haven't written anything else since then. It's sucking up all my time.
You might be right, my friend, but I also recall that when YouTube came out, people thought that was a waste of time, and then maybe it is.
Yeah, that's interesting. That leads me to, like, I don't know. I put the question out there, and I'd love to get any feedback from your listeners too about this. Is like, I'm putting out a video for the song we played, "Embracing Uncertainty," and it's basically recruiting some friends to do some stuff to help me out. So I have a friend who's a violin player, and her sisters. They're both sort of ex-students of mine too, and so they're helping me out putting together some content of the video, and then a friend of mine is going to put it all together. But man, what a lot of work. And if it's expected that I do this for every song, oh my God. So where's the threshold in terms of, like, is it okay just to post lousy looking, like, do it yourself kind of videos? Is that okay? So I'm trying to figure all that part out. So if people have opinions about that, that'd be nice to know.
It's tricky. I was gonna mention, I must say, do you know Sean Cooney at all, an Edmonton guitarist?
No.
Sean?
No.
You look like him in this photo, or he looks like you in this photo.
So he's a handsome guy, is what you're saying?
Yeah, he's a handsome guy, and he's a great guitar player as well. He is.
Cool.
So for our viewers out there, this is I'm not imagining things. You guys look very similar in this particular photo here. So let me get to the next one here.
Yeah. So that you can barely see him in the shop, but that's Joel Gray on trumpet, and Joel is an absolute treasure. Whenever the symphony needs like a lead trumpet player to come in and nail the gig, they hire him. The first trumpet player from the symphony can do it for sure. He's a great, amazing musician too, Robin Doyen from Montreal. But Joel gets called in to do the heavy lifting. And he can play anything. This guy, I've done like those kind of traditional gigs with him. He does a whole thing where he sounds like Louis Armstrong and does Louis Armstrong stuff, but he's also a great jazz player and anything you want to do. So he plays on a lot of my recordings, and he and I have done a lot of stuff together over the years. And playing stand-up bass is Josh McCann, who is also another just jewel in our Edmonton music scene. Same thing, whatever you need. Like, I've done so many gigs with both these guys where there's no rehearsal, there's no need. You just throw stuff at them and they nail it, and with amazing finesse. So they're both great players. So this was a benefit that we did, and this is at the Science Center. And it's a really cool place to see music, and like the light show, this is just one that you should have seen the stuff that people were doing behind us. So that was really cool.
Cool. Now this Joel, I'm sure he earned the right to tout his own trumpet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. This is one of your. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's the latest book, and it's the poor students. They have to buy it if you go to take my course at MacEwan.
It's a good gig when you actually can.
Oh yeah.
Book that is mandatory reading, my friend.
Yeah. But it's called a whole person approach to songwriting, and same kind of philosophy for me that everyone can do it. Like, everyone should try it and get involved with it. And we all have different, areas that are stronger at than others. So it covers a wide range of topics. But I make sort of the argument along the way that we engage all of ourselves when we do it best. And so if we can tap into left brain, right brain, all those sort of like intangibles like our muse and being able to feed and nurture our muse, as well as use our critical faculties. It's sort of what it's about. And there's also things like our physicality that come into songwriting and, of course, performing music. So it's sort of a holistic look at songwriting.
I'm a strong believer in that, so much so that I incorporate into a lot of my leadership training, where I say, you know, a lot of times I see people who are inside organizations, and I watch them, and then I watch them outside, and I always come to the same conclusion, and that is, if you bring more of yourself from home and from your community life into your corporate or government jobs, you would be so much better at it. Somehow they compartmentalize it so much that when they're at the work at these big organizations there, that they don't bring all these things in that would make them so awesome. And so I get excited just talking about it again.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a new way of looking at things. I think that's a movement in education and in business as well, that people are looking at multifaceted ways of approaching things and bringing in other team members and stuff. And so I think that's very cool. And just since you've mentioned it, I've talked to different people about maybe even writing a few articles or a smaller version of this book and taking the principles of songwriting and applying them to business. Because I think if you can conceptualize a song from start to finish, like from the very, germ of an idea all the way to the finished recording and stuff like that, it's a creative process, but it's also all sorts of real world things, left brain applications as well that are involved in it. So I think a lot of the same principles would apply to anything you want to tackle, even in business.
Which actually is another big thing that I try to impress on people who go through leadership development and critical thinking and whatnot. And the fact is, you got to look at the world as the world has all of these different things that are seemingly quite different, but when you zoom out to a certain level, they're all the same.
Exactly. There's different colors of the same. Yeah.
Learning is so much easier. Communication is so much easier. And critical thinking is so much easier if you look at things as being more the same, rather than, they're completely different. For example, I look at business in let's say, financial services, and I look at business in oil and gas, or not even business, something else completely different, like building a cathedral. And as a critical thinker, I want to be able to see the similarities between all of those things, analogies, if you will, because the more you can exercise that muscle of seeing patterns that are the same, the more you can be effective in what you're doing, right? Rather than just saying, well, business is completely different than, whatever is completely different than that. That's a longer learning journey, right?
Yeah, and that's so not true. I love that. Anyway, I could talk about this stuff as much as the music stuff forever. I love it. I used to, as a quick aside too, when I lived in Toronto, I never stopped doing music, but I did work in the hospital sector as a mid-manager for about 8 years. So I do have sort of a business background myself.
Yeah.
Just a shot from my first album, playing my Telecaster.
At
the Commercial Hotel, actually. Yeah.
For some reason, I think of this song by CCR with the Bad Moon Rising.
Yeah, right. It looks like a moon behind me.
Rising.
Yeah.
And
that's just a light. I've talked about this group.
Let me just let me just take myself out, because that's the cool photo, and let's just see it look at that. Bad Moon Rising. Cool.
Yeah, that's on stage at the Commercial Hotel many years ago, and that's not the moon, that's a light off stage.
Yeah, we used to discuss this before. Yeah. What kind of amp do you have? I'm going to guess that looks like a Trainer amp, a Trainer Wine Edition 20 watt.
Oh, I have no idea. It was just backline. I think it's probably a Fender though, but yeah.
Oh, it looks like a Trainer from here, but okay, cool.
You could be right.
I clicked by accident, so it went twice. Yeah. Look at this big band.
That's the River City Big Band. Yeah, that's a cool shot. I like that shot.
Oh yeah. This puts you back in the 50s. Just especially when it's black and white like this.
Yeah.
And the treatment they have,
that's with Karima 2 Blue. Just some promo shots we did. That's my Dobro. Resonator guitar, so I'm playing with a slide, and it's probably to a different tuning and stuff. But
I love the contrasting colors as well. Yeah. Red, blue, and a little brown, and it's just an awesome composition. I may use that word.
Good. I'll tell the photographer. She was a young girl who, I think she was 16 when she took these pictures, and she did a great job.
There you go.
Yeah. Uh, yeah,
you are a matching coordinated,
I know, it's kind of funny, isn't it? We're in our purple zone. I don't know. This was the Music Messengers. We really wanted to put this thing together and make it a sort of a traveling speakers show where you incorporate music and spoken word. And I'll tell you, the one that we did do in Vancouver was really, really enjoyable. And like each person did a mini TED talk and then shared a couple of songs. So it was about an hour and a half evening kind of thing, and you get to know each artist, and then we all play together. And I think it's a really cool concept. Andrea came up with the idea of Music Messengers, and that's what we were doing. So I'd hope we get a chance to roll that out again. It was really fun.
Yeah, and of course there's Nathan with his awesome instrument there.
Stick, yeah, his stick. Yeah.
Stick, yeah.
This is with Carly
Chapman
Reid.
Stick. I need to add that word, the Chapman stick.
Yeah, Chapman stick. That one he had in his hands wasn't a Chapman stick, but it was like it. Yeah.
There you go.
Carly Rae Jepsen. Do you remember her? Call Me Maybe. So this is we actually shared a dressing room. And you know what was kind of cool? She this was sort of as she was making it huge, and it was so interesting just to see her, because she'd go do a song just during a Telemiracle. So she'd go do a song, come back, hang out in the dressing room, and the first thing she'd do after every song, text, answer a million, whether Instagram.
In about 2 weeks, my friend. That's going to be you.
That'll be me, exactly. It's so sad, but look where it got her. So yeah, and she's just a sweetheart. It's kind of a drag because people, of course, whenever people make it, they always start dumping on them. But she is absolutely genuine and lovely, and she's a cool singer, and she's still doing it. And I was so happy for her when that song just exploded all over the world.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't an overnight success. We don't believe in that.
Yeah, no. This was with Ellis Hall and the guys. So left to right. Let me see. John Taylor on the bass. He was the regular bass player for the symphony for years. He just retired. That's Ellis Hall with the shades on. Now he's an amazing musician. He'll pick up your instrument and kick your butt, no matter what it is. And he sounds like Stevie Wonder or Brother Ray Charles. And he actually was signed to Ray Charles's label. And I don't even know if I can say this in public, but he's as good, if not better, singer than Stevie Wonder. He is phenomenal. I don't know why he's not a household name, this guy. He should be. Brian Thorogood next to me. He's also been with the symphony for many years, teaches at MacEwan. Both John and he taught at MacEwan too, and head of the drum program for years. And yours truly.
Cool. Oh, great photo. I love
it's nice,
I love the widescreen. This could be, cool.
I'll tell Stephanie about it. She took it. So that's Gary Cable again. This is a smaller version. This is just sort of like the Gary Cable project, what used to be known as Gary Cable and the Nearly Famous, and just a gig somewhere in BC.
I don't know why, but it just, this shot here, just the first thing that came to mind was the Eagles live. Acoustic Eagle live, right? I don't know.
Great shot.
Came to mind.
Stephanie Day that took that picture. I'll have to tell her. This is just a close up of me with Johnny Reid.
Yeah, Johnny Reid. Cool.
Lauren Cardinal. Do you remember Lauren Cardinal? Best known probably from Corner Gas.
Of course. Yeah. I recognize him. He's absolutely.
So he did a cameo on an album called Sparkle that Andrea and I wrote and I produced, and it's a beautiful winter album. I hesitate to say Christmas because it's not a Christian album, but it's not Christian either. I really highly recommend, if people are into Christmas music, you'll love this album. It's called Sparkle, and Lauren does a cameo. It's very funny, and so it was really fun just to work with him and get to know him a little bit.
Right. Cool.
So this guy, his name is Luc Merville. He's a household name in Quebec. Just a really great soulful musician, originally from Haiti and made his home in Montreal for many years, and a very cool individual. And I had a chance to play with him when I was musical directing this show in Vancouver. A couple of guys from the Northern Pikes, just hanging out. Yeah. And that's we talked about that one. I've talked about that too. That's Walsh Trodd.
Yeah.
Now, if we run through all the pictures, there's Andrea Menard.
I think I know what that is. Was this at the Caps or no? No, maybe not.
Couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Let me just see here. Hold on.
Yeah. So I just want to point out, she's always wearing something handmade by native artists.
Okay.
And that beautiful thing she's got around her neck was made by somebody she knows. Yeah. And so she often will post who did these things for her. So if you're into fashion, check it out.
There you go. Wonderful.
That's my buddy Darcy Phillips, who is from Edmonton, now living on Vancouver Island. And he's been probably most well known as being Jan Arden's keyboard player for many years. And he and I have worked on each other's albums. This is a project he was producing in Vancouver, and I went out to do that with him. And we're swapping files back and forth all the time. He's a great guy and just an amazing musician.
Now, I have a skill testing question for you. Are you ready?
I don't know. I am ready.
How many channels is that mixer?
Probably 32, I'm guessing. I don't know. A lot. Thankfully, I wasn't running it. I was just hanging out.
Lots of channels.
Yeah, lots. Montreal band, the Xmen. Yeah, we're on a new wave crusade.
And that is you right there, I would imagine.
That's me. Yeah, hard to tell. Me with hair. Yeah. And the same band, different shot, different keyboard player.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's the end. We have Xmen being the last photo.
Well, that's probably fitting. That's good.
That is fitting. Xmen, right? That's
yeah.
Now we've gone well over time, my friend, but we live in strange times. So what's the clock? The clock is a bit of a past thing anyway. So passe. So yesterday, this clock thing.
Yeah.
Why don't we maybe share a couple more videos, and I'm going to ask you a few more questions. I'm going to wrap it up, and then we'll have supper.
Yeah, no kidding, right? I can't believe anybody would still be with us, but if you are, hey, way to stick in. Thanks so much. So feel free to play whatever you got there, Dune.
Yeah. But before I do that, before I play a couple more videos and whatnot, tell me, was there something else that you want to share, a sentiment, a message, a story that we don't want to finish here without sharing that? We don't want to be slave to the videos and audios all. So is there a message or a story or anything that you want to share while I look at the videos here?
I don't know about stories, but I mean, I probably got a million stories, but I think what's important at this time, off the top of my head, I think, this is a really interesting time we're living through. This is, unprecedented in so many ways. I think it's bringing to the fore a lot of our problems as a society. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen coming out of COVID. I think the future of work is a very interesting thing. Our traditional ways of doing things, I think, have to change. Mm-hmm. I think the quicker we get on board with change, the better. There's going to be a lot of resistance to it, but things like moving forward, looking at things like universal basic income. Mm-hmm. For musicians, I see this as a way forward that will hopefully do away with this need to be on social media and be a slave to social media. If artists were actually getting a living wage, then I think it would enable us to sort of focus more on our art and worry less about that stuff. And they've done studies apparently that, and there's a project going on in Hudson, New York right now, where they are giving people like a basic income, and it's making people, they're finding instead of our worst, we leap to the conclusion that people are probably going to just slack off, and for sure some people will. But what it really does is give people a chance to find their best selves and work towards things that they are passionate about. And I think that's a way better way for our world to be than this striving and panic that we feel if we're not making money and stuff. So I think this situation right now has brought a lot of that stuff to the fore, and people are having discussions. And I hope it continues, because I think this would be a really great way forward for artists and people of all stripes who aren't passionate about what they're doing, have other things they think their lives could lead to. And I think this is our tax money anyway. let's find a way to reroute it to make it work for us, and have a society where people are doing the things that they're kind of born to do, instead of striving and hoping you make ends meet, and all this kind of thing that we're all going through right now. And the stress of all that has just not brought us to a good place.
Yeah. Your choice, my friend, Helter Skelter. Did
Sure.
we do I Feel Fine? There's Robert Walsh and Friend at the Planetarium. We might tell me, which one would you like to play?
Well, I don't think we have to play them all. Why don't we just do that little shorty of it's just a little bit of Helter Skelter with the River City Guys.
Okay. Tell us about that while I cue it up here.
Sure. That was that Beatles night. We did a couple of nights of it, actually, which was cool. And once again, River City Big Band, way to go. They gave me a few bucks to write some arrangements for them as well, which is really appreciated. And then we got to perform them a couple of times, and it was a real treat. And I think we might be doing it again if we're allowed to at the end of the summer. So we'll see. There might be some outdoor festival stuff happening.
Okay. I'll mute you for the controlling the sound here. Can you hear it? Very cool.
Yeah. So I should probably just mention that I said I was going to talk about Robert Walsh and the Fabs. I just want to make a quick mention, but that's a poster right behind me, the bluish one.
Let me hold on. Let me make you. Okay, go ahead. Point again.
Behind me there. It's called Robert. The album is called Robert's Soul by Robert Walsh and the Fabs. And what it was back when the radio station Rolco Radio was giving out money to artists to do stuff with. They asked me to do I did a couple albums because of money that they gave me. Thank you so much, Rolco Radio. That was great. And one of the things they asked me to do was my own version of Beatles tunes. So I got to do a whole album of Beatles music, and with all my own arrangements, and it was very eclectic. So whatever I was feeling is what I did, and it was really fun. And one of the really fun things about it, I sang a couple of tunes on there for sure, but I also came up with arrangements, and then I said, okay, who would be best to sing this? And invited different artists, mostly from Edmonton, like Andrea's on there as well, Andrea Menard, but there's also a lot of well-known local heroes. Shelley Jones is on there, Zappa Costa, Mark Sterling, Diana Stable, Pierre Sabourin, who was a great Francophone artist, but he's singing in English. Who else? Ale West is on there. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but anyway, so it was a really great showcase for a local talent as well. And that album got played a lot. And so I just want to make sure that people know you can still find it. It's on Spotify. And so just go for Robert Walsh and the Fabs, Robert's Soul, and have a listen. It was really a fun album to put together, and great showcase for local people.
Cool. Another choice for you to make, my friend, is between Robert Walsh and Friends at the Planetarium or what's called I Feel Fine. Which one?
I don't know. We don't need to play everything, do we? It's up to you, man. Up to you. Whatever you like.
Oh, no, you pick between one of those two.
Well, we've done a lot with the River City Guys, so maybe let's go over to. It was just sort of a medley of stuff that I did with Joel and Josh at the Planetarium.
Okay, planetarium it is.
Sure.
See,
Check out
I'm
the
here to
links.
serve, my friend. I'm here to serve. So let me just prep it up here, and let me mute you so we don't have an echo coming back. Get rid of me. Can you hear it?
But every time you catch your words when someone else wrote theirs, every awkward moment you endure to show someone you care went a long way. So don't you be surprised if good things come from unexpected places and your heart comes alive. Oh yeah, it's gonna come back to you. It's gonna come back to you.
I know what you mean about the lighting. Awesome.
Every loving thing you do, don't you know, it all comes back to you. Hang tight, 'cause I can tell you're getting down. Maybe it's time you learn to take the gifts that you've been passing round, yeah. Love is coming to you.
It's like the northern lights almost up there.
In the sky above you should turn dark and full of cloud, and that old north wind begin to blow. Keep your head together. Call my name out loud, 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 and soon I'll see me knocking at your door. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you got to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. And ain't it good to know that you got a friend? People can be so cold, they'll hurt you, desert you, and they'll take your soul if you let them. Oh, so don't you let them. Let's hear it for the band. Guys ready to sing again? All right. You gotta wait for it. We'll do that again. No pressure. I want you. I want you to. I want you to be what? I want you to be tell me what? Will you please tell me what? Are you gonna be my baby? Your lips and small and
Fantastic. Love it. Love the lights. Love the
Having
audience
that for all
interaction.
your gigs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to shout out that's Pilgrim's Hospice. That was the benefit we were playing there that night. Elaine Warwick put that together, and what a fun night. So yeah, support those guys too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's been a wonderful time chatting about all kinds of stuff, all the way from songwriting to composing to scoring for musical and other shows and big bands and small bands and
More than you ever want to know about Robert Walsh.
I think you got about 3 or 4 different Robert Walsh in there,
Yeah.
my friend.
Yeah.
And we did double time, and normally when we say double time, that would be faster, but we did double time, meaning we took twice the amount of time that we scheduled. But this has been awesome.
Thanks, Dune. Thank you so much for having me.
Every moment of it. So as we wrap this up, let me just ask you, was there anything else that you want to share with our viewers and listeners that you haven't yet, that you like to kind of take the time?
No, I just what I'd just like to say is I've embarked on this journey, and I'd really love to connect with fans. The point of me doing this is to get my music out there, and I really would love to connect with people. And I'm hoping that people will come with me on this ride and discover it's all about the music. Really, the social media is a means to get there. So when there's gigs again, please come out and say hi and mention that you'd seen me here. And that's it. I think that music is going to occupy a really important place for people moving forward too, because of all this change that we're going through. And it's a great talking with Joel Gray, who you just saw playing trumpet. He and I have had many discussions about the role of music and stuff. And one of the things that I really learned from him was just in his mind, it's there to make people's lives better. That's our job as musicians, is to, for the time that you're with us, to touch you and hopefully transport you somewhere, even if to a small degree. And that's what we're trying to do with our music. And so that's what I hope people will come with me on the ride for. And so, like I say, please come and follow and see what I'm up to. And I just want to thank you so much, Dune, for doing this, not just for me, but for all the different people you've interviewed here. And it's a beautiful thing that you're doing. And just congrats for doing it. Thanks for having me.
Now I'm going to do one more ask.
Okay.
I know you're big in the French community.
Yeah.
So I want the same closing remarks, similarly, or a similar version.
Okay.
Speak to your French community, my friend. Speak to your French.
Okay.
I assume you know enough French to make it work.
I'll do my best here. Ben oui. Salut mes amis francophones. Si vous êtes encore avec moi, j'en viens pas, mais salut encore. Comme j'ai dit ailleurs et souvent, comme je me suis lancé dans ce défi-là, dans tous les domaines des médias sociaux, là, puis je vous invite à venir avec moi. Encore une fois, c'est toujours au sujet de la musique, c'est pas juste pour me suivre, pour voir ce que j'ai mangé pour souper, là, mais c'est pour faire de la musique. Et merci pour être là. Ben, toutes ces années, en fait, la francophonie m'a beaucoup appuyé, puis j'apprécie beaucoup. Et c'est pas le temps d'arrêter. C'est le temps de continuer avec moi, s'il vous plaît, et les artistes, toutes les autres artistes francophones aussi. Comme j'ai dit, il y a une place pour la musique, je pense, dans nos vies, plus que jamais. Et j'espère d'être là pour vous. Merci.
Merci.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just do it again in Vietnamese for Mike.
I'll try. That's up to you, my friend. That's up to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Robert Walsh. We spent last couple hours here with this fine musician that is, musician, speaker, instructor, professor, you name it. And really at the bottom, really at the end of it, he really loves. If there was one thing that he could do, just one thing out of all those things, I heard that writing is the a real passion for you. And again, if I can sum it all up here, do look up Robert here and follow him on social media and connect with him on various platforms that are well in the description of this program here. And prove to Robert that social media does work.
Yes. Please.
All right. Well, thank you so much to our viewers now and who might be watching later in the rerun or the recorded version. Take good care of yourself, friends, and take good care of one another. And until we meet again, have a wonderful rest of your day.